Just a quick message from myself to you guys before we dive into this episode. On the YouTube channel of the Tiger Nexus podcast, we are going to be having exclusive snippets from the previously already uploaded episodes of the podcast. These snippets will be dissected portions from the episodes where you'll hear a conversation had between me and one of my guests, or a question asked and answered. And these snippets, of course, will be for newcomers. They can check it out and have a taste of what to listen to. Or maybe it'll be for my already had fans who want to reminisce, kind of dive in to conversation that they already enjoyed. Either way, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and check out those snippets starting on the 1st of January 2025.
Welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. A place where you'll find interviews with content creators and geeks alike. Your host, Ty Tiger, has delved upon the Nexus and found interesting content creators and geeks of all fandoms. This podcast is connected to the Zero Hero Network. And now we dive in with another episode!
Hello everybody and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. I'm your host, Ty Tiger, and today I'm completely riding solo. I don't have a guest, I don't have someone to speak with, but I did want to talk to you guys about something. I needed to say something, and I wanted just for you guys to listen to me, just ramble on for a little while. Don't worry, this won't be like hours long or anything. Most of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for a fantastic first year of the podcast. And also, don't worry, me going solo won't be a thing that happens often. Unless you guys want that to happen, who knows. Anyway, thank you guys so much for a fantastic first season, a first year. My first episode dropped the 8th of January. And since then, it's been an absolute blast. I started this podcast because I was a guest on podcasts myself, such as Ben Baker's Technical Difficulties. I've been on Neek Talk, I've been on If You Give Data podcast, and I've been on Zero to Hero. Shout out to all them guys. And it was my interview with Jared on If You Give Data podcast. He has such a way with words, he has such a way with interviews, and it was the most interview-like interview that I've had. And it made me realize how much I loved talking to people. I love getting to know people. I love geeking out. I love content. I love creating content. I have plenty of YouTube channels where I make different types of content. And it made me realize that, hey, maybe I could do this. And there was a conversation that I had with Jared about saying, hey, you know, I think I might want to start my own podcast. And I don't think Jared gave it a second thought. He messaged me back going, do it. Do it, and do it. So that's exactly what I did. And I spoke to Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, who's my buddy, he's my best friend, and he's my business partner. And the reason why I asked him to go first is mostly because he's from England, and I'm from England, I live in Wales. So we're both in the UK, we're on the same time zone. And he is getting recognised for being the Red Cornish Ranger. And I wanted that to be the first. But also because without him, there wouldn't be any connection to the people that I've just mentioned. I first found Mark the Red Cornish Ranger back in... we're talking... 1 second, let me figure this out. So, my son was 2... So, we're talking like early 2021. No? Yeah, it must be. Right about there. And at the time, I had social services involved. They wanted to take my son away from me and his mum. And they kept on giving weird and wacky ass reports. Half of the reports said that we are terrible, horrible, nasty people and we should not deserve our son. Our son could die in our care. And the other half of the report said that we are fantastic parents, 10 out of 10. They're confused on why they're there in the first place. So to clear it all up, they sent us to Barnsley, which is I want to say a town in England, but I don't actually know how big Barnsley is. And we were in a block of flats, or as Americans say, apartments. And we were under CCTV cameras 24/7. They'd watch us. The only rooms that they weren't allowed to watch us in was the bathroom. They'd watch us 24/7, and they'd document everything. They'd make reports on everything. And I literally mean everything. They'd literally be, 907 Tyler, which is my full name, by the way, my full first name, Tyler plays of Logan, 950, Alicia takes over because Tyler made breakfast, or something, literally documented everything. And we were there for 4 months, and it drove me absolutely fucking nuts, because there was no internet. TV was your boring, bland Freeview, which means we had about 10 channels, and they all repeated the same flipping TV shows. So I downloaded TikTok for the first time. And I downloaded TikTok for the first time because my partner at the time, air quote, Logan's mother, she was on TikTok. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, let's download TikTok. Let's see what this is all about. And it turns out that, hey, there's people on TikTok that I'd search things like Digimon, Pokemon, Power Rangers, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Walking Dead, Infamous, Mortal Kombat, Marvel, DC, all these other stuff. And when I typed in Power Rangers, I hit a gold mine. And I found Mark the Cornish Ranger because I followed Eternal Ranger. I really want Eternal to come on the podcast. He's a guest I'm looking forward to in 2025. And I followed Mark the Cornish Ranger. Now, fast forward several months. We've gone back home. Social services are off my back now. We've proven that we're good parents, etc., etc. And I see Mark talk about how he's been mentioned on Zero the Hero. And the funny thing is, in November, his video that he did was able to be reposted, on the day thing that they do on TikTok. So it's quite funny that got brought up, but he did a video like, hey, Zero Hero mentioned me on their recent episode, shout out to them. And then it turns out that he was going to be a guest on there, and I remembered the video he did where he's like, hey, I've been a guest on this podcast, go check it out, and he tagged Zero the Hero in it. I clicked on that account, and Billy, the guy who runs the account, he's one of the two of the Zero the Hero. I've had both of them on this year too. He was talking about Power Rangers and having guests on and stuff, and I was like, dude, huge Power Ranger fan here. I've never been on a podcast, but I'd love to. And that was the domino effect that started all of this. Through me going on that podcast, they added me to their Discord. That's how I met Willie, air quote, Cosplay Dude 637, who's now my Power Time, my other business partner, and my other best friend. I met A-Crown, I met Willie's son Xander, I met Ben, who does movie Dumpster Dives with me now. And then eventually Jared joins. So without Mark, there wouldn't be any of this. So it only felt right to have, my fellow Englishman, my business partner, my best friend, but not only that, I was able to have the guy who got me into everything that I'm into now. Because through meeting Cosplay Dude 67, Tiger Tales wouldn't exist, which is my audio dramas. Without meeting Mark, I would have met Jared, who is the guy who got me doing this podcast. Things like that. And yeah, it started with him, and it's insane. It's absolutely nuts. People, may listen to this next section and go, oh, that's not a lot. But to me it is. This blows my absolute fucking mind, okay? So this is being recorded on the 30th of November. It's being uploaded on the 2nd of December. This is our last episode of Season 1. currently, as of the 30th of November, at 1:45 in the morning, we are sat on 425 views on YouTube, and we are sat on 794 listens on the Red Circle distribution. I can't fucking say that word. The podcast platforms. That's nuts to me, by the way. Almost 800 listens is bananas. That is absolutely insane. And the random thing is, on both YouTube and on podcast platforms, my most listened to video is my interview with Hev and Tom, who are an open relationship couple. It's episode 28. And I will give it to Hev and Tom because they promoted this like no tomorrow. I recorded with them, and it was about 6 days until the episode dropped, and they'd make videos on it going, hey guys, it comes out Monday and things like this. When the video dropped, Hev kept on talking about it, and they go live a lot. They're a couple who will sit live. They have a banner on the screen that says we're an open relationship, ask us questions. And when people, like, for a good 2 weeks, when people ask them questions, they're like, oh hey, this is the answer to your question, but if you want to know more, go check out the Tiger Nexus podcast. We've been a guest there. And holy fuck did it do, because they promoted the fuck out of it. And it did well. It's my most viewed video on the Tiger Nexus podcast. It's the most listened to episode on the podcast, on the podcast platforms. On the platforms, it's almost 100, and on YouTube, I think it's 12 listens away on YouTube. And the really weird thing is, I use Red Circle, and I don't pay for it, which means it doesn't be put on YouTube via the payment. I have to do it. I personally put it on YouTube myself. And the really random thing is about that is the views on YouTube sometimes blow my mind. The next most viewed video on YouTube is episode 12, which is where me and Jared, the host of If You Give That a Podcast, spoke about Angel, the TV show, the spin-off to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That is almost at 50 views. On the podcast platforms, it hasn't even reached 30, and it's absolutely insane. That is madness on how YouTube differs from podcast platforms, and I don't take anything for granted. I like to look at things with a fresh pair of eyes. I check every day on all my different types of content, including the podcast. And it blows my absolute tiny little brain, or whatever I use to think, that, that's even possible. And, yeah, it's... The funny thing is, the next most viewed video is episode 21, where me and cosplay Sun 67 Xander, me and him spoke about Naruto, and that's almost at 30 listens or views, whatever. And yeah, I just found it absolutely insane that through this podcast I've also learned the difference. Every person's unique in their own way. Everyone's entitled to be unique in their own way. I've had both my younger siblings. I actually have 4 younger siblings, but 2 of them are under the age of 10. One of them's from my mum's side, from my sister, Molly, and then the other one is from my dad's side, Freddie. He's my brother. And they're both a year apart. Molly is 19, Freddie's 20. Which is insane. I love them both, they're great. And I managed to have them on. I've had all of my friends that I create content with, or, I'm a part of their creative content world of some kind. Zio the Hero, If You've Done a Podcast, Ben Baker. I've had Willie, I've had Mark, But then there's the new people that I've never spoken to, that I've always wanted to speak to, and this is what I mean by sometimes people shock you. Actually, people shock me every day when it comes to this podcast, but... Okay, so for an example, let me explain what I mean. Manny Malpass, or Manny Metalhead, he's on TikTok, he's episode 34. Me and him talk now on Discord, we'll say hi to each other and stuff, and the really sweet thing is he knows I'm into Power Rangers, and so is he. He doesn't publicly announce it on his TikTok or anything, but he'll send me links to like Etsy and Vinted and eBay of Power Ranger stuff, like retro Power Ranger stuff. He sent me a link the other day to the original Power Rangers Time Force weapons, the swords. Obviously they're made for kids, they're smaller, but he sent me a link to that the other day. I didn't manage to get them, I didn't see it in time, but like he's just really sweet. I obviously got involved with Nick from Original Geek, and that's episode 37. He is awesome. I can't wait to talk more of the guy. I love reading his book. He gave me access to his comic books, so I get to read them for free. That's awesome. The Grey Matter blogs, episode 32 and episode 31, because that was a two-parter. I've been watching him for ages, such a long time. He was one of the original people, and I haven't spoken to him as much as I'd like to, but he's liking my videos, I'm liking his and stuff. Ketsu, it's me Ketsu, episode 29. That was a Pokemon themed one. We talk as much as we can, we mess each other as much as we can. He's a very cool dude. I absolutely adore him. He's got just a lovely energy about him. And then, of course, there's a flip side to this, because there's people that I haven't spoken to since. There's people that I haven't spoken to since the podcast. The creator of Impound. That would be Brent. He's episode 9. I haven't spoken to him since. I leave comments on his videos. I like his videos, and I just get pushed to one side. I'm not even acknowledged in his existence, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm so cool with that. I understand. I get it. And this year can be kind of summarized in two ways. This year could be an absolute drought. Because there's not been anything for us entertainment-wise. No brilliant games have come out. There's been one or two really good films, but nothing in the cinemas. I met Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, in Comic-Con. I've been to 2 Comic-Cons this year. My first 2 Comic-Cons ever, which was great. I've kind of come out my shell a little bit in cosplaying. But I got to meet 3 famous people for the first time. That was awesome. Only for a couple seconds for 2 of them, because I got pictures. But, I'm working my way up on saving money so I can do better in Comic-Cons next year, which is great. And I absolutely love the fact that the 3 Ranger Bros had a table in a Comic-Con. Do not ask me where. It was somewhere in America. I apologize. I cannot remember the name. Cosplay Dude 67 is a part of the 3 Ranger Bros. He actually had a table, and he had cards that people could take. And, it might have not gone anywhere. We don't know. But a business takes time, and I don't mean this to sound harsh in any way, but I'm more of a manager when it comes to the 3 Ranger Bros. The Mark and Willie work tirelessly, endlessly. They work so much. They both work in medical. They both work in hospitals. They're both working with patients and without patients. They both have kids. I have it easy out of us 3. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I care for my fiance, and she's just started working in a special needs school, so there's a lot of time I have by myself. I have it easy. So I've kind of taken it upon myself to kind of bark up and go, right, this needs doing, this needs doing, this needs doing. And that's actually one of the reasons why this is the last episode of the podcast for this year. Because, yes, we have, another 29 days the rest of the year, but I need time. I need time. I run a lot of different YouTube channels, and TikTok seems to argue with me about, oh, you don't need all these YouTube channels. Yeah, I want to. Shut up and deal with it. I have the time to. Why the fuck not? There are people with this many channels. I literally follow one person on TikTok who has about 9 different TikTok accounts. And all he talks about is fitness and buying games and playing them. That's all he does. But he makes money off it, that's the difference. He makes money off of it. I don't. Yet. So, I work on YouTube content daily, day in, day out, whether that's recording, editing, planning, writing stories, drawing artwork. I'm doing something for some channel at all times, or my TikTok account. And I'm perfectly okay with the fact that I have to manage the Three Ranger Bros. Because, I listen to these 2 blokes who are older than me as well. They are older than me. One's got 4 kids, one's got a hyper 5-year-old, will be 6 by the end of the year. I know their personal lives better than anyone on this planet. I take away their wives, obviously, but I know their personal lives better than anyone on this planet. I understand them better than anyone on this planet, and I love them more than anyone on this planet. I'm completely fine managing the Three Ranger Bros. And in December, I need time. Because 2025 is going to be a good year. I'm determined to make 2025 a good year. Because my personal life has also gone to shit. And it's not been fun. And, I'm currently not speaking with my folks. I have just... depression sucks, I guess. And I don't want to burden my friends with what goes on in my head. I don't want to burden the Zero to Hero community with what goes on in my head. I don't want to burden the random people I've met on the internet with what goes on in my head. It's a dark place and it's a scary place. And the one way that I stress myself out to fuck, but also relieve my brain of all the horrific thoughts that I have going on in my head, is making content. And there's a merch store, there's this specific podcast, there's YouTube videos, there's a website, there's so much that I can do, and I want to put the Three Ranger Bro Studios on the map. And 2025 is how I'm going to do it. There are officially 2 stories with the Three Ranger Bros, that being Power Rangers Global, which is ended season 1 but is officially part of a Power Ranger and Kamen Rider crossover at the minute, and the third one is called The Three Brothers Amongst the Stars, which is a space travel exploration storyline, and there's also a third storyline in the works, but I want there to be more. I want there to be more storylines, and I'm determined to make the Three Ranger Bros have its own universe, basically. I could talk like this for hours. I could. And I may make it a thing where at the end of each year, at the end of each season, I do just sit here and talk. And, we talk about the year, and we talk about the highs and lows, the guests we've had, and that sort of stuff. But I don't know. That's a thought for another day. TikTok stresses me out. So, I have to watch what I say, because I get views on TikTok by pissing people off. I get called a paedophile for some random reason. Apparently, I look like a paedophile, because apparently paedophiles look like something. And I watch a lot of Law and Order. Anyone can be a paedophile. So I started the year by trolling TikTok, because you can't say the word paedophile on TikTok, it won't let you. So they used the word terabytes, meaning I have child pornography on my PC. So I knew this anyway. I found this out in like late 2022. I had to Google it. And I sat there and made a 10-minute video basically saying, how can you call someone a piece of data, a storage of data? That makes no sense, because a terabyte is also, Jim's going to correct me here, guaranteed, but it's, a terabyte is the name of the file storage. There's gigabyte, terabyte, megabyte, that sort of crap. And I made that joke, and for about 5 months, 6 months, I got ransacked like fuck. But I got views. I was in the thousands in almost every single video. That actual video, the audio got muted, but I was in like 40k views in like a week. It was mental. And currently, at the moment in time, I'm trolling TikTok because I'm saying that I will never play Elden Ring because I've watched people play it. I've watched the trailer. It's not my cup of tea. And I'm rinsing it like fuck because I've pissed off so many people just by saying that. Because apparently it's not okay to watch a trailer or something and go, I'm not going to waste my money, I'm okay. Which, is naturally human. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. 2025 is going to be a good year. January 2025 and some of February 2025 is going to have returning guests. I've already spoken to the Three Ranger Bros. I'm hoping to have both of them on at the same time. The Zero to Hero boys, I've already asked them. They said that they agreed they'd come on at the same time. We've got Ben Baker coming back for another movie dumpster dive. A Crown is returning to talk about Mortal Kombat. Freddy's kind of come back as well. We're going to talk about video games. So there's going to be a few returning guests. We're going to be a lot of geeky episodes. And then once, the year's once the year's on a roll, it's no longer feeling like a fresh new year, we're going to bring back the new guests. I've got a few lined up. And, I'm hoping there's one specific guest that I've spoken to who has said that he'll come on, but he's busy right now, and he said that maybe try him again in the new year. And if I do, I'm going to lose my mind. Saying that real quick before we end the podcast, my all-time, my number one guest is a YouTube nerdcore rapper called Dan Bull. Listening to his music pulled me out of suicidal depression. He will never know how much he means to me and how much his music means to me, which is silly because his music's all about video games, but it doesn't matter. I that's the only merch I ever wear. If you ever see me in a video and I'm wearing a blue hoodie with a cassette tape with horns on it, that's Dan Bull's logo. That's a Dan Bull hoodie. And he no longer sells that specific hoodie, so I have one of, an amazing thing. I messaged him and I asked him, hey, would you want to be on the podcast? And he said, not right now. Life is hectic, Christmas coming, and his head's not really up for interviews. But when he's up for it, he'll let me know. So I'm going to try him again February and see where we stand. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I apologise for rambling for so long. I didn't want it to be pushed to half an hour at all. But have yourselves a Merry Christmas. Have yourselves a good New Year. Please be safe. Please look after yourselves, look after your mentality. Don't let the bullies get to you. Fuck them. You're better than them in every single shape, way, or form. And don't forget that if someone is bullying you, it's because they are miserable. They are hating themselves, they are hating their life. Something in their life is just as negative as the negativity they throw at you. What they throw at you is the same negativity in their life. They don't know how to portray positivity because they don't have any, or they're not seeing their positivity. Just remember that. Be safe, everybody. And of course, thank you very much for listening. I love you all. Roar of passion, everybody. And I shall see you in 2025.
What you have just listened to is a product created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channels, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.